I bought a second Ricoh GR before TikTok finds out about it. More because I'm worried that TikTok will find out about it. Right before I get started in this video, if you're interested in renting a camera and trying it out before you buy it, follow the link in the description and use the code Liam15 for 15% off your order at Lens Rentals. In the fall of 2020, I bought myself this Ricoh GR. It was used and pretty beat up at the time, and it's even more used and even more beat up now. And despite all the other cameras that I've been through and tried out since then, I still have the Ricoh GR and I still use it most days. Despite all of its shortcomings, it does just about everything that I need it to do for a daily, documentary, everyday carry type camera, and it requires very little effort from me in order to get it to do those things. And recently I've been concerned that it will break soon. I've dropped it a few times. It started seeming like it was focusing weird, but maybe it just always did it and I was paying more attention to that. I left it outside in the summertime for a full 24 hours. And when I brought it back inside, it didn't switch on for a couple hours, I guess because it was too hot. And when it did switch on, it wouldn't take a picture. I think maybe the shutter was like stuck closed. But then it started working again, and it's worked fine ever since. I've also noticed that it has a few dead pixels throughout the sensor, so I don't know if that's a sign that it's on its way out. And if this one is on its way out, I'm also worried that this camera will catch the wave of hype that some other cameras have been catching, particularly the X100V, and maybe to a lesser extent the Canon G7X. It also seems like older digital cameras are kind of coming back, those early 2000s digital cameras. This one being a 2013 is not far after that wave, so I'm worried that this will end up in that wave of popularity, much like the old point and shoot film cameras like a Contax T2 or something like that. So I bought myself another one as a backup. Now, to be fair, I could have just bought myself one of the newer Ricoh GRs or a different camera altogether, but this is probably my favorite camera ever, and I'm not quite ready to just let that go, particularly if it becomes pretty much impossible to find or expensive to buy. And even as it stands just now, they're not super cheap for how old of a camera they actually are. So before I can't find one at all, or it triples in price because of internet hype, which I'm aware I'm making a video about it right now, so I might contribute to, this is the spare. As ridiculous as I feel for saying I bought a spare of this old camera. And that being said, I think it's a fairly legitimate concern that the Ricoh GR, the original crop sensor one, might go viral in the future. Possibly it'll start with the older, like smaller sensor GRs and move its way up. But this little camera has such a cult following because it is so good and so capable for the size of it that it might catch that wave. I keep saying the same thing. But I keep seeing more and more of these popular reviews of cameras like the Epson RD1, a Leica M9, Canon G7X Mark II, which is a lot newer than those, the original Canon 5D, and a bunch of other cameras that have kind of a cult classic following now. This is really starting to get into that same kind of territory. My notes are over here. This is why I keep looking over here. All it would take is for some random celebrity to show up in an interview, pull one of these out of their pocket and be like, this is the only camera I shoot with now. These older digital cameras are becoming more popular now because they're sort of imperfect rendering compared to newer digital cameras that are out. People might say it has a film vibe or a film look or filmic or cinematic or something like that. I don't subscribe to any of those things. I think it looks like how it looks, and you can, if it feels like film to you or to other people, great. To me, it just looks how it looks, and I don't get a film vibe from it, but it just has nice rendering. So essentially, I do agree that it has a vibe without the word film in there, and rendering that is maybe harder to produce elsewhere. And I also think that a lot of cameras provide the user with a certain amount of enjoyment of use, which in turn gives them the feeling that it has a vibe that's not actually transmitted through the pictures, but they just feel that through the camera, and then it sort of taints how you look at the images afterwards. And I say that because I don't think anyone could tell a picture from this next to a picture from a GR3, next to a picture from a Leica M, next to a picture from a Canon 5D or whatever else, if nobody gave you the data of which was which. And maybe you could tell with depth of field or something, but at similar settings, most people, including myself, couldn't really tell the difference. And as an example, here's a bunch of pictures that I've taken over the years with a whole bunch of different cameras. I need to read them off of this list. Shot on Canon 5D, a Canon EOS Elan 7 with Portra 400, with CineStill as well, a Fuji X-T2, Fuji X100V, Ricoh GR, GR3X, Leica M262, Sony A7C, Fuji X Pro 3, Fuji X-E4, and an iPhone 8. And for the most part, I don't think anybody could pick them out of a lineup. Had I not taken the photos myself, I'd probably never be able to guess. Find one that you like, slap on a grainy preset, maybe use a diffusion filter on the lens, and you've got your film vibes. And so if I can't tell the difference from one to the next, why am I so invested in this camera, and why wouldn't I just buy a different camera? So as I mentioned, some cameras give the user a vibe while they're using it, a certain level of enjoyment that helps you in your process of creating an image. And I'm no different. I'm very susceptible to that. And I know that if I didn't buy this and this one died and then I couldn't find another one of these and I bought a GR2 or a GR3 or whatever GR is out at the time, I would probably be kicking myself that I didn't get this as a backup, and I would be looking for 4x the price to buy the old school Ricoh GR. And even with the GR2, the images might be exactly the same out of it. I'm not sure. The only difference in form factor is it is a little taller here on the GR2 for the Wi-Fi transmitter. But some people say that the images from the GR2 are slightly different. They're probably not, but it would probably stick around in the back of my head. And I haven't been able to get behind a GR3 yet either, because they changed the form factor a little bit and they got rid of the built-in flash in order to add IBIS into the body. So it's shorter this way, but a little thicker. And what I found with that is that this part here, where my fingers rest, is smaller. So your fingers get more wedged up against the lens, and the balance is off because there's more weight in this side of the camera. So it just over time feels heavier than it should. Like, it's really hard for me to explain, but if you hold one of these and then move to the GR3, you'll notice there's a little bit of extra weight on this side that's less comfortable for your hand. The other thing with the GR3 is they made a scroll wheel here and got rid of this little rocker switch here. And this is like ergonomically perfect. And the scroll wheel is less so. So with that little bit extra weight and having to move your thumb down more to get to the scroll wheel instead of the exposure compensation up here, they've slightly changed the ergonomics for the worse, in my opinion. And furthermore, I've heard bad things, that the scroll wheel is prone to kind of not working very well. And there's no GR4 being announced yet, so I'm interested to see if they change any of those form factor things from feedback that they got on the GR3. My guess is they won't take out IBIS. And this video is not to say that I think other people will get the same enjoyment and use out of this old camera that I do. You might find that a different compact camera, if that's something that you're even interested in, would do the job better for you. Or maybe you don't even need or want a compact camera at all. Maybe an everyday carry camera for you would be something much larger than one of these. That is for you to figure out, and this is just me espousing my opinion on the internet, and occasionally someone might find it helpful or interesting. You might even find it'll evolve over time, as it did for me. I started off never thinking that a Ricoh GR would be the right thing for me. And ultimately, there's nothing wrong with just using your phone if that's the best tool for you to create something every day with. Recently I got recommended a video from someone else's channel who often has different opinions from me, but I'll watch his videos in order to challenge my own opinions on things so that I can maybe explain things better myself or change my mind about something or validate my own feelings about something. And they had been using this Fuji XQ something. I'd never heard of it, but it seemed to be for him what the GR is to me. So there's always a multitude of cameras out there that might be the one that works better for you. And if you're interested in an actual user review of the GR, I've been using it since 2020 at this point, and I made a video after a few months of having it. And to be honest, I was going to make a long-term review video, but what I said in that video is pretty much still stands true for the GR, except for the fact that it wouldn't replace my X100V, which it very quickly did. So I'll link that up here, this side, or down below, or somewhere. And if you're interested in renting a Ricoh GR, I'm gonna put a link below to lens rentals, and you can use the code Liam15 and you'll get 15% off your order at lens rentals. Definitely worth renting something before you invest a lot of cash in buying it. And you would have to rent a Ricoh GR3 or GR3X, which I've rented and loved and almost bought because I really did enjoy it. I just didn't like the ergonomics quite as much, and I've already got a Leica, so I didn't need to be buying more cameras. So check that out if you're interested. It's a really good way to support the channel. If you use the link, I get a little kickback from Lens Rentals. If you don't use the link and just use the code, Lens Rentals sees that you use the code, but they don't give me any money for it. But they'll still give me other cameras to try if you do that. So anyways, thank you very much for watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't already. Drop me a comment down below, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.